Hey everybody, real quick, once you've watched this little troubleshoot video and determined what your problem is, look down in the description. I'm going to link a couple other videos that are going to show you how to fix your particular problem. Just wanted to mention that. Thanks. Hey everybody, I've gotten some questions on some other videos relating to running toilets, and I thought I've gotten enough questions on a couple of things that it made sense to kind of do a video to straighten some things out. I'm going to go through a little troubleshoot of a running toilet. And the first question that we need to ask is the toilet running intermittently or is it running continuously? If it's running intermittently and you have nothing leaking underneath, no leak here, no leak here, and you can take your hand and feel under there, it should feel dry. It probably is. So if it's running intermittently and it does feel dry under there, then what's happening is water is leaking past this little flapper inside, and as the water leaks out slowly, the float on the fill valve begins to go down enough to where it turns the water on to fill it back up again. And then as the water continues to leak past the flapper, it does the same thing over and over again, and that's why you're getting intermittent water turning on and turning off. Now, if that's not the case and it's running continuously, we're going to continue on with a little troubleshoot here. The first thing you want to do is flush your toilet, and after you do, as it's filling up, I want you to take your finger, and you see this little stem right here. There's an arm right there. Take your finger and lift up on that arm, and if the valve shuts off, then the problem is not inside of here. What the problem is that the water, the reason why it's running continuously is that the float is set to high, essentially, and water is rising to a level where it's going inside the overflow tube. So if you've got water going inside the overflow tube and that lever does shut off, when you lift up on it, the problem is not in here. The problem is that the float is set too high. Now there's a couple of ways to set the float. One of them is, you see this little stem right here. You grab the top of it and there's a little screw. You can turn it to the left and it will lower the float, and turn it to the right and it will raise the float. In this case, we want to lower the float. And the reason why is because we want the rising water to put enough pressure on the float to lift that little arm up and shut off the valve. And if the float is set too high, and it's reaching the point where it's going into the overflow tube, that float is never rising enough to put pressure on that arm and shut off the valve. So again, we need to lower it. So that's one way of lowering it. A final way of lowering it, we would want to turn the water off at the wall. It doesn't show it in the picture here, but there'll be a little valve and it's righty-tighty to turn it off. But once we've got it turned off, you see this little collar right here? We can lift up on that collar and then slide the entire mechanism downward, and you'll feel notches as you go down. But you can lift the collar, slide the whole mechanism down 1 or 2 notches, slide the collar back down in place, and then on the valve on the wall, turn the water back on. And what that essentially will do, it's another way, it just lowers the whole mechanism instead of just lowering the float, but it achieves the same thing so that when the water rises, it puts enough pressure on that float to lift that arm and shut off the internals on the valve before it gets to the point where it's the water's going over into the overflow tube. I hope that helps some of you out there. Again, there were enough questions on some things here that I thought it might warrant a little video on troubleshooting. And again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Have a great day.